Welcome to One on One. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent Newspaper. It's a big day here at PAC 14, the biggest ever. We have our next mayor of Salisbury in the house, Jack Heath. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Greg. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
Well, congratulations on being elevated to mayor. Tell us your story. How did all this happen?
Well, last Monday night, the mayor asked me to come into the office and said, I've got some news for you. And he told me about his pending appointment and said to me that he was going to nominate me, if it was all right, to be the next mayor. And I said, well, yeah, so let me check. I'd like to check with my wife, but thank you very much for the honor. And it is an honor. So I went home, talked to my wife, and that was the story. And she said, that's great. Do what you need to do. And she's always supported me after 53 years. She's been right by my side. So that's how it began. And since then, it's been like a whirlwind.
So Jake Day, our mayor, has been appointed Secretary of Housing and Community Development for the state of Maryland. He's going to be on the new Governor Wes Moore's cabinet, a job ideally suited for him.
Oh, perfect.
But he sort of had a succession plan in his mind when he took this?
I think he did. And I didn't expect it necessarily to be me, but I know he's that kind of a guy where he knows what's happening and what needs to get done.
Now, he sang a lot of your praises, former CEO in the business community. You're an engineer, former CEO in a nonprofit here in Salisbury. You've been here a long time. You know everyone. Everyone seems to like you, which is always helpful.
Yes.
Been on the council for 8 years. When the mayor was on deployment, you were basically the mayor with Julia Glantz running the city. So is it going to be like that, or is it going to be different?
No, well, it's going to have to be different in terms of relationships. But I will tell you this, I look at it, and I thought about this a lot. It's not the next phase in a new beginning. It's really a new chapter in the story that's already on its way and been built. And I will also tell you one thing, and this is a serious note, is that the only reason I accepted the position is because of the team that's in place. And when I say the team, because it's not just the team in the city, which has got an outstanding cast, but it's also the city council. When I first got on, I remember the interview when I was running, and I said that the one thing that I wanted to do was bring civility to the council. It takes people to do that. And it wasn't me that made it that way. It was the council that made it that way. And we've been running fairly smoothly for the last 8 years. And we've had some changes during the 8 years. We have 3 different people that have left, and we didn't skip a beat, which is great.
Yeah, and there's a lot of respect on that council is what I see.
There is. And people think that we agree on everything. Well, if you come to the work session, you'll find out we don't agree on everything. And we have some discussions. The key to it is we do it respectfully. And we did it respectfully.
Now, having watched how the mayor interacts with the council, how are you going to take your personality into that?
Well, everybody's different. I'm a quiet most of the time until I need to say something. But in terms of the council, they know me, I know them. So I don't see a big transition there. In terms of the way that the mayor operates, my philosophy is very simple, and I've used it all my career, no matter what size company, whether it was profit or for nonprofit. Always surround yourself with the best people you can. And then the job is to provide them the resources they need when they need it. And the last one is get the heck out of the way and let them do their jobs. And not saying that I don't believe in dashboards, accountability, because I do. But I don't think that's going to be an issue because a lot of the things that I believe in are already in place. So it should be a pretty simple transition.
We were on a Zoom call today with Senator Cardin in Washington talking about some federal funding for the county. And it was mentioned that Dr. Hoy is leaving Warwick and the Mayor Day is leaving Salisbury.
Right.
And he said those are a lot of big shoes to fill for the leadership down there.
Yep.
How do you feel about filling big shoes?
I don't fear it. I think I'm prepared. I'm not sure that a person coming off the street would necessarily have the ability right away. They may over time do that. But I think it's important that the things that I've learned, first of all, I know all the people. It was funny because I went down to the engineering department this morning on my way in to say good morning and how everybody, and I knew all of them. So that part of it's pretty simple. And I know the procedures. So I don't think there's going to be any shock, put it that way. And I'm actually having fun, believe it or not. It's been a couple of days, but I'm enjoying it.
You said something to me many years ago, 6, 7 years ago, which has been stuck in my mind. And maybe you've evolved in your thinking, but there was so much going on with the renaissance of downtown and just the new spirit in Salisbury. And you said something like, gosh, we're all hoping we can keep the momentum going. Like, what if we lose the momentum? And I was sort of the same way. I hadn't thought about it. I thought, oh my gosh, what if we lose the momentum? And, I was thinking selfishly, I won't have anything, positive to write about if we lose our momentum. But we've kept the momentum with so much going on.
Yeah.
How's that going to be your challenge to keep the momentum?
The good news is that the departments anticipate it. So it's not a matter of introducing something new and then just pushing it. They take pride in what they do. I've spoken to a couple of I haven't spoken to everybody yet, but a couple of the department heads, they were, and I say this because they told me, geez, we're relieved that you understand what our jobs are. And I think that's a benefit. So I don't think we're going to lose momentum. Now, I'm not saying the priorities, depending on the situation, may switch, but they're never going to leave the plan. If you remember when Jake and I first got on, when I got president and he was elected mayor, we had that listening session at Salisbury University with several sessions where we invited the public to come in and say, what do you need? What do you want for the city? Because that's who we serve. So that master plan was developed from that meeting. Well, that hasn't changed. We've had bumps and we've had to adjust. Take COVID. It's changed so many things. Lead times, contractors who can't fulfill their obligations because they don't have any people. I mean, but that's expected. That happens in business, it happens in government. And it's all the way that you respond to that makes you successful or unsuccessful.
You are a firefighter, and one of the problem areas on the horizon for Salisbury is keeping the firefighting crews staffed.
Yep.
Have you looked at that yet? Have you thought about that?
Oh, I've been thinking about it a lot. The issue that we've got, and one thing that concerns me is where are all the people that were working before COVID? Every department we have, not just the fire department, but every department we have, we're struggling to get people.
Right.
And we're not alone. Businesses are going through the same thing. The problem with the firefighting is there's a competition out there to provide more and more and more and more. Well, you have to pay for it. And how do you pay for it? And people, how do you prevent poaching? We have other departments that are poaching. Same thing in the police department. We have probably more calls in police and fire than anybody near us. And they learn everything there. And they're getting paid a decent wage. But when they're being poached by people who have less work and pay more money, some people are attracted to that. Some people love the busy schedule, and others don't. But we've been very lucky. We have a great department, both police and fire. But it's hard to hold on to them, and it's hard to recruit people when you're competing against that many different people.
It seems like leadership is really key in the police department in terms of the morale of the city and doing the jobs, keeping the officers motivated. You feel good about the police department?
Yeah, there's a balance. You have to consider the citizens and as a public servant, and then you have to at the same time control the problems that we have, like every city has. And we have some problems like of a big city. God forbid we're never like some other towns that have bigger problems. But so we have to walk that line, and I think we do a pretty good job.
You know, they pay me to watch you, basically.
Yeah.
You know, and to talk to you and feel like how you are as a leader and what you want to do, and someone had just asked me over the summer, like, what do you see Jack Heath doing? I said, I think Jack's winding down. He's not gonna run for re-election. He's gonna go retire finally. And what great service he provided. And gosh, we're gonna miss him on the council. And there's gonna be a leadership vacuum. And then this week, it's just the opposite. The reality is just the opposite. You're going to be working harder than ever in this job now. Are you ready for that?
Yes, I am, and I've thought about it. And
first of all, was my premise right that maybe you were winding down before?
I was.
Okay.
And the only reason I was winding down is the council's been running really, really well, and I put it this way. I would like to retire, although I've been a failure at retirement. As you know, I've retired 5 times, and I haven't got it right yet. But in this case, it's different. In this case, I had concern. I had a concern once I found out that we would lose the momentum that you had mentioned before. And we're not there yet. So I didn't want to go backwards. And I still have energy. So instead of fishing and going out with my grandkids, which I'll still do, but to a lesser extent. But to me, it was intriguing. And I've always liked a challenge. From the time I was a kid to the time I played basketball in college, till I was on the fire department, I love it. And this is a new challenge. And I'm up for it. I'm ready to go.
Well, when I learned this news on Monday, I said, I thought, well, Jack can hold the job for 9 months and then someone will run. And I said, you're not going to run. And you said, yeah, I'm going to run.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to run. I think I'm going to learn enough in the next 8 months that's going to make me even more excited. But again, I think there's a point in the master plan, and there's a point that you get to where you go, we got so much momentum that it would be very difficult for someone to come in and just flip it backwards.
Right.
And say, no more development, no more building homes, no more of this. And I don't want that to happen. So I've made the commitment. My wife has agreed to the commitment. My kids have made it. So my grandkids are now agreeable with it. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the campaign. It's smaller than when I ran for county exec. So I'm looking forward to it.
Now, for your council seat in the 3rd District, the council will have an opportunity to appoint someone until the next election.
Correct.
How does that work?
Well, we advertise, which has already started, I believe, today, and they have 4 weeks for people who are eligible to run from District 3. You can't run from another district. They'll set up a process. The process that I used when we had openings was I brought all the candidates in. We listened to all the candidates. We did a blind vote and narrowed it down to 3. And then we did a decision matrix and interviewed the final 3 if we needed to, and then voted blindly. So it worked. It worked every time that we did it. Now they can make a totally different way of doing it. They can just do it by interview.
Right.
And it depends really on how many people sign up.
Right.
And District 3 is very active area.
Yeah, it's the classic heart of Salisbury. The neighborhoods around SU, and it's what you think of when you think of a residential Salisbury.
Yeah, and the because we redid the districts by the GIS to make it smooth, we now have 3 minority districts and 2 majority districts.
Right.
And they've changed a little bit of the configuration. It's not a major change, but I've lost a couple of streets and picked up a couple streets someplace else, and it seems to be working very well.
Now you've stepped down as the city council president.
Correct.
You're going to be a council member. Muir Boda is your successor. How are you feeling about Muir?
He's been there the whole time, and he's we're a lot alike but different. He really is in tune to the detail. Not that I'm not in tune
Right.
to the detail, but he and I talk all the time, and he runs the meetings when I'm not there, and it's worked out really, really well. But the other council people, they are so. I think, and I'll make a statement. I believe that the group of people that we have care more about the citizens than anybody else could. It's just, they're good people.
Yeah, I think they have that mission of
They do.
serving the citizens every day. I don't see a big ego parade there at all.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So when you first came on, financial accountability was really important to you, and I don't think it's a coincidence that we've had 6 perfect audits of the 8 years that you've been on the council.
Well, I can't take credit for that. That's Keith Cordry. But I do ask a lot. Well, you as you've seen, I ask a lot of questions because it's important. Everything that we do on the council, everything that we approve, is on the backs of the taxpayers. So I'm really careful about spending money. The one thing I'm very attuned to is budget amendments, as you know.
Yeah.
And I think we have to be, if we say we're going to live within our bounds, then that's what we have to do. Now, again, the priorities may change. We have things coming up like the well situation we talked about the other day. And those things we have to adjust to. But people know we're watching, and that's our job. A lot of people don't understand that the council's job is the budget and legislation. And the mayor's job and the team the mayor has is responsible for running and implementing the process.
Right.
And sometimes the two get blurry a little bit. Sometimes people on the council cross the line a little bit, and other times people want to give us their input, which is great, but they want to influence decision maybe, and that doesn't work. So, and that's my job and the mayor's job to make sure that doesn't happen.
We've got so many great public spaces with the zoo and the river walk, the rail trail that's coming. Any ideas on public spaces, things that that you're worried about or want to change, improve?
No, I think the rail trail is the next item, and we've got grants for that, and we just have to work out the details. And I don't think that's going to be a big deal. Some of the other items, one of the things that I'm also very conscious of is infrastructure. And we've got some heavy lifts on infrastructure coming, and that concerns me a little bit. But we'll handle them. And again, when they were talking about the problem with the well lines from the main well, that was planned for by the team saying, hey, look, this is coming up. We need to do it. And now it's got to be accelerated a little bit. And we have the funds there for that. So that kind of perspective and outlook to the future, that helps, because then there's no surprises. There's no $1.5 million that drops. And we have another heavy lift coming up where we're going to have to probably refinance the loan that we have for, we're still paying for the wastewater treatment plant. I can't wait to celebrate when that's done. But again, that's what you pay for,
Now, since you mentioned water and sewer, this is potentially going to be your first challenge with the county, not conflict, maybe conflict, where they want to hook people up to the sewer. There's a prerogative that they need to come into the city. There'll be a grandfather phase. There's going to be some tense discussions about this, I fear. How are you going to navigate that?
We'll negotiate like we negotiate with anybody. But the code, the ordinance is very specific. In order to get hooked up now, there's no more water sewer district.
Right.
That's history. And if the hookups have to happen, they have to be contiguous with the city, and we have to go through the annexation process. That's the way it is right now.
But people who are in the county are going to fight that. They're going to want to use your sewer and not be part of the city.
That's going to be a tough one.
Also, the fire services agreement is up for renewal. It's expired. It's time for a new one. How's that going? Who's negotiating that?
Well, I'll be involved with it for sure.
First, tell us what the fire services agreement is. I'm sorry.
Well, the fire service agreement is an agreement that we have in place that has expired, really. And for us to provide service outside of the city limits to a certain region of the county. And that's a tough one because
the city incurs costs,
right.
So the county's going to have to pay for it, or instead of having their own fire department. But go ahead.
Right, and I think we look at it. The costs are rising so fast. The cost of what we developed during the first negotiation, compared to where the actual costs are now, are ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to find a mechanism to make sure that we're fully covered. It doesn't make sense. And we'll do that. We'll find out. We have the data, so that will be part of the negotiation when we get to it.
Yeah, the irony there was the previous mayor had sort of inflated or was maybe not accurate in terms of how much the city was spending on services to the county. And the agreement ended up costing the county less than the county thought. But now that number is about where the previous mayor said it was going to be.
It's more than that.
Okay.
It's more than that. And we're not alone. Somebody was telling us today that we had ordered a piece of equipment, and we used to pay, let's say, $275,000, and now it's $340,000 for the same piece of equipment.
Yeah, like a new ladder truck's $1 million or something like that. More than that?
Oh, the last one was thought to be about $1.3 million. It's going to be north of that. So, I mean, it's hard.
Yeah, that's a heavy burden.
Oh, yeah. And rescue trucks, engines. I mean, they're not, with the amount of runs we have, we're going to break every record this year for calls.
Now, new county executive, kind of a new attitude over there on that side of the building. How do you feel about working with the county? Historically, there's been some tensions between the city and the county.
Yeah, I always go in with a positive attitude. Now, we haven't had time to sit down and talk. That's one of the things we're going to have to do. But I don't see any issues based on what I've heard, and we'll just have to see where it goes. But until you sit across from somebody and look in their eye, it's hard to tell what's going to happen. But from my end, I'm willing to talk about everything. So.
And you've had rapport with the county council all along.
Oh yeah.
It seems like you and John Cannon, who's the president of the county council, have always gotten along.
We always have a good relationship. Not that we agree all the time, but if you agree to disagree with respect and consideration of the other person, can't go wrong.
Someone just said today, they said they see Jack all the time. They see Jack everywhere. How do you manage to get everywhere?
I enjoy meeting people. That's one of my. I don't have to tell anybody, but I'm not Jake Day. I'm not an orator. He could sell ice cubes to Eskimos.
He could make anyone charge a wall. Yeah,
he could.
I would charge a hill for that guy.
And I'm not that guy. I have to, and I don't know how to do it any other way. So I'm going to be myself no matter what happens.
Now, every morning you hold court over at the bagel place. Are you going to still go do that?
I'm still going to do that. Actually, I was there this morning, and I had 3 people come up with issues that were on their mind. And a lot of people, actually a couple of people stood up and went, and I said, sit down, because they were playing a joke on me. So some of my closer friends there. But yeah, I'm there mostly every morning.
You call it your other office, or
it's my only office.
Your only
office.
It
was my only office.
Yeah. Yep. So if anyone wants to confront you or bring their problems, you're going to be there most times.
Yep. Around 7:30.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, Jake also, if you've ever been in the mayor's office, has the big blueprint on the whiteboard in there.
Yes.
So you can see the future, present, and past of the city.
Yeah.
Are you going to keep that board?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That way everyone knows what the plan is.
Yes. Yeah. I'm an engineer, so my printing is more of engineering graphics. He's sort of the way he talks is the way he writes, so that'll change. But the look will change, but the materials will be the same.
Do you want people to reach out to you?
Sure, absolutely. The best way to get a hold of me seriously is go through Donna Haig.
Donna Haig in the city office.
Yeah, when you call, you'll get Donna.
Right.
And then I will get back to you.
He's Jack Heath. He's about to become our new mayor in Salisbury. We are wishing him the best. Big shoes to fill. No doubt he's going to do great. Jack, thanks so much for coming in and reassuring us as we go through this leadership transition. Thank you.
As always, thank you. It's a pleasure to come here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. Another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.